Scott, how are you this morning?
I couldn't be more excited.
Why is that?
Why? Because my team they're in the finals, Dan. LeBron came back, and they're in the finals. I'm totally serious. Whatever the snide subtext might be, I'm thrilled. I am thrilled.
Okay. You have written about, we have talked about the sports history of Cleveland, and we're talking about, since the Super Bowl era there with Cleveland, because before that they did win NFL championships. The importance of winning a championship to the city of Cleveland, can you put it into words?
I've been trying for years now. I think what's left of Cleveland is not going to ever compete with Chicago, certainly with Northern California, with Los Angeles and Southern California, with Boston. Forget New York City. That's once upon a time the sixth or seventh largest city in the country, Cleveland. I mean, I go back, far enough to remember when mistake on the lake wasn't even a phrase. All I'm saying is sports in that town, that's the only means anymore of competition as a major, as a city that matters in this country. You could be proud of the art museum, proud of the orchestra, all that stuff. But really what matters, what's left for Cleveland to feel like it's not a joke, like it's not the mistake on the lake, like people are going to have to pay a little bit more respect than they've paid for the past 50 years, is for one of those teams to win a championship. And one of them gets to this point, that entire region, Northeast Ohio, it's validation. It's all those silly things that non-sports fans don't want to hear about, let alone ponder. It's only sports. It's not going to bring a critical mass of young families back into the city of Cleveland. But it's going to help. It's going to make a difference in a way that, if you talk about the Steelers in Pittsburgh or the Red Wings or the Bad Boy Pistons in Detroit, and Lane Beer is right, by the way. I don't even think it's a close call in terms of the greatest basketball player of all time.
What? Okay. Wait. You got LeBron as the greatest basketball player of all time?
No, I'm not saying rings don't mean anything, and he's got two and counting, LeBron. But if you look at the range of skills on the basketball court, what LeBron James has done over the course of his career and what he's doing right now, I don't think it's a close call between who is the greatest of all time in terms of playing professional basketball. Honestly, I don't.
What if LeBron doesn't win this year and goes 2-4 in NBA final? Let's just look worst case scenario, because it is Cleveland.
Absolutely.
Okay, so he's 2-4 in the NBA finals. You still stand by that?
I stood by it after his second MVP award when he had 0 NBA titles, and I understand all due respects. Whether it's Michael, whether it's Derek Jeter, the rings count. He was the best basketball player I had ever seen. By the 2009-2010 season before he left, he's only gotten better. Michael Jordan has never done, whether you go back to 2007 and look at that Cavs team that got swept, by the Spurs, back when David Robinson was still a relative, when Tim Duncan was still a relative youth. You look at what LeBron has carried, the load he has carried, both in Cleveland and in Miami. And I don't see. Look, none of us is an objective observer, but I don't think Lambert was just being the provocateur. I don't think I'm just rooting for the laundry.
Yeah, but I champion LeBron even when he was missing shots or wouldn't take shots or when he was losing. I said, you guys don't understand what you're seeing in front of you.
Right.
But if you said prime Jordan or LeBron, I'm taking Jordan every time, even though LeBron has a more well-rounded game. I've seen it up close. And Michael would kill you. LeBron is not that kind of. He's just not that kind of player. And I'm talking about winning, Scott. I'm not talking about well-rounded.
Well,
I'm talking about Joe Montana wasn't the best athlete at quarterback, but he could kill you when he had to. And there's something to be said for that gene in your DNA.
And I would not dismiss that, and I don't want to get into that weird clutch gene territory because we have a historical perspective on Michael we don't have yet on LeBron. It remains to be seen. It really does. The story is still being written,
yep.
And I'm the last guy who would suggest I'm either unbiased. Clearly, I got plenty of selfish interest here as a lifelong Cleveland fan. But somehow we have to knit those two things. Even if we're talking about presidencies of the U.S., we have to combine the weaknesses and the strengths, and we can't do that now. We can't come up with the ultimate judgment on the body of LeBron James's work. And again, I don't mean to dismiss the idea that it's about winning is what it's about. That's all it's about for me as a fan. That's all it's about.
He's Scott Raab, Esquire magazine writer, working for the mothership. He wrote The Whore of Akron. It's... You hate that now when I bring it up, right?
I don't.
Like you were fine when LeBron said, "See you, Cleveland."
Hey, if I'd have known the guy was coming back, I might have tweaked the title a little bit. But it's great.
Scott, you write a sequel now.
I am. I'm working on a sequel.
What's the title?
If they win, you're welcome, Cleveland.
All right, okay. How much hypocrisy is there for the city to welcome him back with open arms?
None. Zero. And look, I know we're rooting for laundry. I mean, that's the uncomfortable truth about my generation of sports fans. These guys are not rock stars to me. To a younger generation, Steph Curry, oh my God, you would think he's Paul McCartney, especially the way the stats geeks, are talking about. The Golden State Warriors, and I heard LeBron James compared to Allen Iverson because his efficiency rating has dropped. I'm a big analytics guy for a guy who can't add 2 + 2. I believe in that stuff. But you talk about losing the context, there's nothing hypocritical. I root for the name on the front of the jersey. When LeBron James was in Cleveland, that's my guy. That's our native son. That's our Moses who's going to lead us all to the promised land. When he decides to leave, look, if he had left and they had won a ring, many tears would have flowed. But as far as bitterness or outrage or feelings of treachery and betrayal on his part, I don't think that would have existed. The fact that he came back the way he came back, whether they ever win a title with LeBron, to me that made good. That made good on the decision.
But do you think – here's the knock on him. He's always going to be – there are people who view him as disingenuous.
Yes.
That he didn't go back to Cleveland for he wasn't going back to save the day. He looked and said, can I get another title out of Miami? I can go back with Kyrie Irving. We have the number 1 overall pick. Maybe I can somehow steer Kevin Love to join us here. And in the East – add water and stir, and I got a chance to play for a championship a lot easier than I do in Miami.
I think he said as much even after the closeout game. He talked about coming back and playing with Kyrie and this guy here, pointing to Tristan next to him at the podium. One of the things about being a passionate sports fan, it's not required. Whether you're a Cleveland or anyone else, that you check your brain at the door. You can hold 2 opposing thoughts. That return, that essay, was brilliantly executed public relations and a whole bunch of talking the talk. And it's true. In terms of people viewing it as disingenuous, I think you could make an argument, and maybe a persuasive one, that it's all PR. But the truth is, at the same time, the guy has walked the walk. He is walking the walk. And when again, not with the Michael comparisons, it's a different era in many ways. It's a much different era when it comes to the level of talent in every sport. You can't argue that guy, unless you're a retired athlete, you can't really argue that the guys were better players in your day. But look what LeBron has done in terms of the rookie head coach, in regard to the personnel changes, in regard to the third kid. He came back, I think, partly because happy wife, happy life. I think all those things you can hold at the same time and just watch it as it unfolds in real time. That this guy at the age of 30 has shouldered this burden in the most public, you want to say narcissistic, I'll agree with you. It's all, it's always weird to hear LeBron talk about LeBron. He doesn't do the, Ricky Henderson stuff, the third-person stuff, but it's as close as you can get. And yet, at the same time, look at what the guy's doing. I know it's the Eastern Conference, but they burned through the Celtics, the Bulls. A lot of smart people picked the Bulls. They humiliated a 60-win Atlanta team in 4 straight, and now we'll see how it plays out. But at this point, to think that it's only a disingenuous guy shaping his brand and polishing his brand, and he really doesn't care that much about Northeast Ohio. All I care about are the wins, and I think he's done an absolutely unique and phenomenal job of walking the walk.
Keep stirring it up, Scott.
What?
Keep stirring it up.
Stirring it up. This is truth.
I know. Oh, I know. Hey, I just, it's going to be tears one way or another for you, and I love the passion. And
it was one of the best nights of my life. I was with my kid at the Q the other night. Seeing the Cavs reach the finals. I'll tell you, for an old Cleveland fan and for a dad, it doesn't get any better than that. Hall of Fame night.
Take a deep breath. I'll talk to you after the finals.
Thank you, brother.
All right, that's Scott Raab, Esquire Magazine. He is all in.